On this episode of Photography Exposed, model and actor Allison Farrow gives us some insight to being in front of the camera, as well as tips to both models and photographers for getting the most out of a photo session.
Welcome to Photography Exposed. With us today is Allison Farrow, and she's a model actress that I've worked with in the past with some workshops at Washington College. She's a former student there. And this episode is going to be talking about some of the things that go in between the photographer and model relations. And I brought Allison on board today to kind of give some insight from her perspective, since a lot of the photographers will have a difficult time, knowing what it's like on the other side of the lens. And hopefully she'll be able to help photographers know how they can better work with models and be more successful in that capacity. So welcome on the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about how you got started in modeling? Where did it all stem from?
It all started when I was 14 years old, and I attended the Barbizon School and Modeling Agency. My mom recommended me to go there to, learn the basics of like manners and how to do hair and makeup. And as I was approaching adolescence, she thought it would be a good thing for me to build more self-confidence and be a better public speaker. So I attended that school for about 6 months, and I loved it, and I decided to pursue modeling and acting from there. I joined the local agency and started just doing local jobs in the tri-state area. And from there, I also got involved in pageantry, and I competed in pageants for a few years. And in 2007, I won Miss Maryland Teen USA.
That's exciting.
And yeah, really exciting. It was a really cool experience for me and my family. And from there, just opportunities just blossomed in the area. I was working at New York City, Philadelphia, Baltimore, D.C., and I was going to school at Washington College at the time. And there was a few opportunities for me to move out to Los Angeles, and that's where I am right now, working.
Okay. Yeah. But before you had moved out, I guess I met up with you when you were a freshman at Washington College, and you helped us out with some workshops that we did, specifically some lighting workshops in this photography marathon that we do in the fall semester. And I remember working with you, thinking that, a lot of the times working with student models, they might have aspirations to do some modeling, but a lot of the times they don't really know what they're doing. And with working with you, I felt like, you really knew how to look for the light and how to, kind of present yourself so that way it was really easy to work with you. And so that was one of the things that stood out from working with you. So what have you been doing since moving out to LA and moving on from Washington College?
Well, it will be about 2 years that I lived in LA. In September, I'll be approaching my second year out here. And I basically just got set up with a bunch of different agency interviews, because that's one of the biggest steps out here, is to get representation. In order to be taken seriously in the business, it's like a whole new level going from the tri-state area in Maryland to Los Angeles or New York City. It's a very big competition area. So I've been meeting with agents. I've been represented by a couple of different agencies. So I've had those experiences that help you go on different types of auditions. I've done a couple of different jobs. I've been on set for a couple of different projects. One of my greatest projects so far that I like to talk about is that I did a Polaroid commercial. And it was just kind of like in memory of Polaroid, and it kind of showed Polaroid going across the different years. And I happened to play the role of a 2010 teenage girl in one of these scenes for this commercial. And that was a really cool experience, being on set for a commercial. And it's different than just doing print work. Yeah. So you're still advertising something, but it's in like a real life situation. So it's cool.
And so obviously there's more opportunities in LA or in New York, but in LA specifically, would you say that because of the density of the talent looking for work, that it's harder to find work there? Or is it just that there's more to choose from, so you find things that better suit you? Or how does that feel as compared to what you're doing here on the East Coast?
I feel like it's definitely a different ballgame. There's definitely always work to be done out in LA. I feel like there's always an option. There's never an excuse that 1 week you don't have a project to do. Even if you're not getting paid for it, you should know somebody. You should put yourself out there and do free work, because being on set is still a good experience, or doing a test shoot is still a great experience.
Mm-hmm.
However, it can be a little bit overwhelming. Whereas when I was over in the East Coast, I would have an audition, you would either book it or you didn't. And chances are that as I got better and better and more experience, I would start booking on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Or you booked those jobs where you had a job every single weekend. I remember working for QVC on the East Coast, and they're located out of Westchester, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So it was about a 2-hour commute from me from Washington College, and I would do that fairly like once a month, like every weekend or so. So that was a nice job because as soon as you book it, it's reoccurring.
Mm-hmm.
That happens in LA, but it's on a rare occurrence.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of depends on what auditions that you're going on.
Okay. And you mentioned doing test shoots and keeping busy even when it's the off season or even when there's not paid work. You were mentioning before about Lily Hope. You did a shoot with her just recently.
Yes.
And I'll bring up some of the photos on the screen for this part. But so why don't you tell me a little bit about that shoot and what were your goals to do and you know, what did you guys actually do on your in the it was in the studio or was it in the field or where did you do that?
It was in studio.
Mm-hmm.
She is a student at Santa Monica City College, and she's studying photography. So she's about my age, which was really cool, and we just really hit it off. She's very familiar with the pageant system, and she actually found me through the pageant system and realized that I was Miss Maryland at one point, and she said, "You've worked with Fidel Barisha. I've worked with him. I want to work with you. That would be a great experience for her to build her website, for me to have pictures as well." And I had just cut my hair recently, so I needed new pictures.
Test shots, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a good experience, and I'm actually shooting with her again tomorrow morning.
Okay, cool.
Which is going to be really fun.
Okay.
She's coming to my location at my apartment. We're going to do hair and makeup here, you know, just out of the closet kind of thing, and we're going to go on location and just get some really cool shots.
Okay, well, I'll try not to keep you on too late so that way you can actually get some sleep before tomorrow.
So I can get your beauty sleep.
But going back to doing pageants and the experience that led you into modeling, what would you say would be some of the, I guess, the positives that you took away from doing that? And then what would be some of the things, like, for example, do you have any habits from pageants that make it difficult in modeling that you revert back to that and it's things that would hurt you, or is it more positive things as a result of doing pageants? Just curious how that works.
I noticed when I was competing in New York at one point in modeling, I'm told that I'm very commercial print, very pageanty, friendly face. And that's kind of difficult when you want to be a model. You want to be, you know, you want to be able to be fierce and commercial print and all of these things. But I am, you know, in a lot of my pictures, my personality comes out and I can't help it.
Right.
But that's the thing about modeling too, is that you kind of get categorized into certain sections, which in a way I've learned as I've grown older is a blessing because it makes it easier. So you know what jobs you're going to submit yourself for. You know where you belong in the industry.
So do you find that when you do a shoot, do you always think to yourself, okay, for my portfolio, I need some more edgier photos, and you'll make sure you get some of those looks, or do you kind of just go with this is my personality, and that's going to convey in my eyes and my face, and I'm not going to try to change the way I look? Or I mean, because I imagine you want to represent what your capability of as far as changing your look for a portfolio for a potential client, or do you just go with the more of this is the way I am, and I just want to book that kind of a client?
Okay, so that's where it differs between being a model and being an actress.
Okay.
Being a model, if I don't have a lot of looks in my portfolio, if I'm like, okay, all of my pictures are very friendly, very approachable, very soft, and I need more fierce, edgier, like more high fashion pictures, then that would be great for a modeling test shoot. And that's, you know, it depends on the photographer that you're working with as well. And if it's a test shoot, you want to benefit them as much. So you want to see what they're looking for, what they don't have yet.
Right.
And then if it's for acting, acting is strictly just headshots, which is going to be able to portray your personality in a picture.
Okay.
So with acting, that's very much so like I'm going my personality, colors that look good on me all the time, very basic hair and makeup, like you go as you are.
Okay.
So that's where it differs.
Okay, cool. So now going back to, we talked a little bit off the air before we started talking about some of the different tools and things that you use along the way, and I asked you if you had any kind of experiences with some of these different modeling sites and things where, you know, you would put up a portfolio looking for work, and I know some of them I've used things like Model Mayhem and things to find models and things for some photo shoots, but I've also heard a lot of people say negative things about that. And so from a model perspective, have you had any negative experiences, and what would you recommend photographers to do or not to do when contacting a model looking for somebody to work with for a shoot?
I've definitely had different experiences with the other websites. I mean, there's various websites out here as well. There's like LA Casting, and then there's like Actors Access, and then there's the Model Mayhem websites as well. And basically, if I ever get like the uh-oh feeling about an audition or something, I'll always bring somebody with me if I feel like it's an audition that I really want to attend. Like if it's, you know, depending if it's a paid audition or not, or what the information is portrayed in the audition. You can really just tell by the description of the job that you're going to be doing. Like if it's not informative and there's not a whole lot of information, then chances are it's not going to be a very professional setting. And you can kind of just tell right off the bat. You can pretty much weed out what's serious and what's not so serious. And like, I don't know, you can always research too. Like we have the internet. So if you have a name that you're given, research the name, research the company. If he says he's a photographer or she says that she has a photography company, research, look at the website, try to see what they have so far.
Yeah.
And just be smart about it. Like don't, if you ever feel uncomfortable, don't go to an audition alone or don't go to a job alone. I mean, even with Lily, the first time that I met her, I mean, she seemed very approachable, my age, young girl. I didn't feel too threatened, but I brought my roommate with me. And I asked her if that was okay, and she said that was fine. And it turned out to be like a really good project.
Okay, cool. So then, so set aside the websites and different things like that. Just bigger picture, what would you recommend to a so going back to the photography side, somebody who's wants to get into modeling? What would be some tips that you would give to somebody now that you've been doing this for a while and somebody who's kind of just starting out? What would you recommend as far as to represent themselves? And you had mentioned before off the air about some, you know, personal marketing. What are some different things that you would do to be successful as a new person starting out?
I am a huge believer in self-marketing. Yes, I do believe that you need to have an agent at one point to have professional representation. It helps you get those auditions that you really want to get. But starting off, you know, do a photo shoot. And I'm not talking about going to like the picture people photo shoot. Like do a photo shoot conveying just your personality and start with those pictures and then go from there. You know, be smart on the internet though, because some people would put too much information out on the internet. Facebook is a great tool, but it can also be abused. So, you know, let people know what you're doing. Try to find a core support system because people are going to be supportive and other people are going to not be so supportive. You're going to get both sides of the spectrum. So I say start with basic pictures that look like you. See what you're capable of, maybe go to a few agencies, or even online you can look up their information for agents and self-submit. You can submit the pictures that you've taken. And a lot of them ask for just basic Polaroid pictures, no makeup, hair is normal.
So if a model is starting off building their own portfolio, do you think that they're better off trying to build like their look and a consistent look, or are they better off building a very diverse portfolio and showing that they can achieve a lot of different looks?
I say go with a diverse portfolio to start off with. And then as you experiment, you'll learn what looks best on you as a person. And you'll get feedback too from agencies because with the agencies that you audition for, that you submit your pictures to, they'll tell you what they're looking for. They'll tell you they're looking for the 18 to play younger Disney girl, or if they're looking for more of like a sexier CW type of character, or whatever they want to portray, if it's a commercial print agent or whatever.
Okay. And on the other side, you know, being a model and working with photographers and then having some good and some bad experiences, what would be some tips you would give to photographers so that way they would be, I guess, having the best experiences with the models that they're working with and have the most productive you know, exchange that way?
My biggest comment about photographers being on that experience level of being the model is that don't be afraid to be creative. I mean, of course, make sure it's appropriate and make sure that your model's comfortable with what they're doing, but don't be afraid to go outside the box and do something creative and something unusual. And also, don't be afraid to take direction, because sometimes models will get up in front of the camera, and I have different days too where I'm like up and you don't even need to tell me what I'm doing, I just know what I'm doing. And some days I get in front of the camera and it's like, okay, I don't really know what it looks like from your perspective. Like, you take direction, help me pose a little bit, because, you know, at least to start off with, it gives us a little bit of building to go from.
Is there any, like, pet peeves that you have with working with photographers, like something you just don't like when photographers do certain things and you know, but I guess if you don't say anything about it, you just kind of like, I won't work with that guy again. But was there something that you would, you know, stay away from?
Yes.
Other than just like, you know, really.
There's two things that I
Okay.
have that I like stay away from is unprofessionalism.
Mhm.
Like somebody who's how would I explain this? Not lazy, but definitely, you know, not on time, not precise, not fast moving, kind of slacking off a little bit. Like we're here to do a shoot and we're not shooting and it's already been 2 hours. Like that's something
Right.
for me that I'm aware of.
Big time waster, yeah.
Also, right. Like, you don't want to waste your time and you don't want to waste your gas, like driving somewhere
Sure.
and nothing's happening and you've been there all day and you have other auditions to go to. Also, my other thing that is a pet peeve is when a photographer is behind the camera and you're not getting any feedback as a model. Because even if I am taking control of my own poses and I'm doing my own thing, you know, as a photographer, it's your job to tell me that looks good, stay there, or you know, maybe try doing something a little bit different. So if you're not saying anything at all, you're not going to get a good shot.
Right. So what kind of feedback do you look for? Do you like feedback where it's also technical, or do you look more for don't worry about the technical, you just want to know that what you're doing is right and continue doing a certain thing? Like, for example, would you want somebody to talk about the way the light's falling on you so that way in your mind you can picture the way the photos are coming across on the camera? Or is it more that you're just going to trust the photographer that technically it's working out the way that they envision it and let you know how to just, you know, kind of pose and move and things like that?
I like both feedback. And you know what? I kind of enjoy the technical feedback in a way too, because I like being behind the scenes as well.
So you like to see the back of the camera every few minutes, kind of a thing?
I love to see the back of the camera. My favorite thing is when a photographer is like, this looks good so far, the way I've changed the lighting, look how it shows up on the camera, and they show you the picture. So you have an idea, okay, this is where we're going with this. I have an idea what they're looking for. Let's keep going. That to me is like a really good thing that a photographer does.
Okay, great. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience before we wrap it up?
Well, basically, just that I'm working on my website right now, and everything, once it's ready to be launched, will be on my Facebook fan page.
Okay.
So if you go to my Facebook fan page and you like me, then I put all of my project updates and my status updates on there, and from there you can follow me on Twitter and stuff. So.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show, and we look forward to seeing what you're doing next.
Awesome. Thanks.